Now that they have a voice in Parliament, I said, on top of that, now your voice, just like any other voice in the Parliament or the Senate, can bring forward bills to bring changes.
Yeah,
Now, you might say to me, well, it mightn't go anywhere. But the whole idea is if you want to show people that you are different than the two giants, you have to think different. Because one, the experience, the years those two parties have been in existence, you are basically a child to them. So you have to think different. The times have changed. Policies, plans have to change. So my thing is this, and I always say to people, listen, first you must know the Constitution. Don't tell me the Constitution isn't working or the system isn't. It isn't the system, it's people.
that's right.
But if you understand the Constitution, you can use it to force changes.
Yeah,
For instance, I heard the CEO, I always talk with this uh, Senate, and I
yeah,
said, okay, it's a good idea, but I said, here's what I would do if I were you. I would push for, come on, say, call it, I would push for basically instead of us now, the Constitution, Article 39, tell us that we need 16 members in the Senate. All of them are appointed. So I've said, okay, if you got 39 constituencies and we elect to the House of Assembly, why not even that out and have 39 members in the Senate and we elect them? And I said, each one of those constituencies should have, in my opinion, person who not only live in there, but we, that constituency, know who you are. Instead of having someone come from the Eastern Road and telling me in St. Barnabas, I'm going to be the standard bearer for a particular party and give vote for me. And I'm like, do you understand what our lifestyle is in this community?
that is a good point. I think we have a
Yes,
call on the
I'll take
line.
you. I'll take you now.
Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please. Caller, you there?
Good afternoon, Professor.
Yes, ma'am. How are you?
You all right?
Yes, ma'am. I'm doing okay.
One of my friends just come to get a big fire on Carlton Road by the church. I don't know where that is.
Halpin Road.
Well, this is some may ain't officially reached yet. They haven't released massive fires. We don't have no vehicles
We
to.
are very strapped when it comes to
Yes,
preparation for fires.
I think what happens to Caller in this town. I think what has happened to us for too long is that we've
All
been
right,
a country of reacting and not proacting. You know, I always say to people that we live in a country like the Bahamas, which sits in the middle of a hurricane belt.
Yes.
And for years, up to now, we don't have any plans in how we're going to deal with or compensate persons for hurricanes
Hurricane damages.
and
Yeah.
stuff. And I remember I spoke with a good friend of mine when he was in the other party. And I told him, and he said, he took it, the idea given to some of his colleagues. And they seemed to be not too enthusiastic about it because it must be within that one of them had the idea. And I said, tried to tell him, I said, listen, you can bring it up in your business and I would help you craft it. And you could basically say to the parliament, listen, man, we, the payment people, need a plan in place.
Yes, we do.
Because when you see hurricane comes to the Bahamas, God forbid that we have a massive hurricane that wipes all the islands.
We don't need that.
And we basically saw what happened at Dorian,
Yeah.
Grand Bahama, and Abaco. And I was like, if we had something in place whereby that financially that we could put a trust in place to cover these things so that if a hurricane was to happen in one of those islands again, you would have funds set aside to compensate those people in those islands that are heavily impacted.
Okay.
Those who minor damages, you can break it down. Those who just had little shingles, you could give them a stipend to go and get stuff. And I said, but he said, but how you manage it? I said, now, the key to that is that fund can be invested globally, but that fund can never be touched by the government to use for their other funds. And
Right.
if no hurricane comes,
It
the money
stays
just
there and
stays
keeps
there and it
going.
just keeps turning over.
Right.
In case so when one does come, you
You
have
have the
something in
funds.
place that you can take care of your citizens.
That makes sense.
And he said, that's a good idea. And I said, it's so funny. And he said, what? I said, here I'm just an ordinary citizen. I don't get paid to think for the parliament. That is you. And I said, this is where we've lacked in our parliament because many of our parliamentarians, you don't hear many, in a country like the Bahamas, you would expect to hear at least 30 minimum ideas coming from the members of the parliament for development of the Bahamas. You don't need to wait for an administration to say, well, this is what the whole idea of you in in these articles is that if you bring a bill, that means that you should have done your homework on the idea that you're presenting. Then you guys sit down, you debate it, and those who don't understand it, you explain it. And
Yes.
then you explain it to the public. So now if the public likes it, they say that's a good idea, we need you to now implement it. What we have is basically we all wait, the administration said so, and then they talk about something. The other day I heard someone mention that the Minister of Foreign Affairs was happy that the Parliament passed a bill, a law, this new act dealing with the Department of Foreign Affairs,
Department of Foreign Affairs.
which will
Yes.
allow the department now around the world, that basically embassies that will now handle citizenship, will now deal with passports, whereby, as it was in the older days, the embassies will only grant you as a Bahamian citizen if you lose a passport, a travel document to return home, and then they will give you a letter to go to the police to report that your passport was stolen or misplaced.
Yes.
Now you're trusting people in these embassies to now do what you expect that was basically protected in a way through foreign affairs and immigration. You're now opening up that avenue where we don't know how to monitor because we've seen it for years. Government has a bad track record of monitoring and keeping records of things in place. So now that you take this over to another government entity within an entity,
Yes.
there's plenty of things can go wrong. I hear the jingle and I'll wait till the jingle, come back after the jingle.
Well, thank you, Brother Cartwright. Damien, we're going to break now. This is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. We have all kind of problems in this place. Of course, we are sorry about passing of our colleague Rodney Monk. We'll talk about that later in the show. This is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson. The lines open. This is open line Friday, 326-0271, 326-0272-813-0271. This is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. We'll be back after the break. 672-813-0271. It means a lot of things that happened. We had this big fire already on Bay Street, and quite a few buildings have been destroyed. And I heard some comments being made by some people about the fire. I heard one particular lady on another report talking about how we've got very. You never know how people will react in the event of an emergency. So we have to be able to be prepared to act quickly, but in a logical fashion in dealing with emergencies. We can hear a report from the director of tourism about her comments on the impact of the fire that occurred yesterday. Um, we just hope that everything is okay. I understand one police officer had some injuries, but generally speaking, there were no other reported injuries in relation to fire. Go ahead, Mr.
What history. And what was important for us was that we learned of the fire occurred, but we also wanted to make sure that there was no impact to the visitor experience. And so together we walked the street, and it's still bustle. We see the cruise ship passengers, it's vibrant, tours are ongoing as was expected. There is a discomfort from the smoke, which was expected due to the nature of the fire, but it's having a slight no impact on the visitor experience. Vehicular traffic, for the most part, has been diverted due to regular protocols and will be reopened for roads as soon as possible. We've been in touch with Cruise Port, and all of the cruise lines have also been notified. And so the visitor experience of 40,000 cruise ship passengers on a busy day that would traverse Nassau, downtown, and the surrounding areas. Those visitors can still come and enjoy the destination. And from a stopover perspective, it's important that our visitors are aware there's no need to stay away from downtown. You can still come, see, enjoy, explore historic Nassau.
Very interesting remark, the director of tourism. Brother Cartwright, what do you
You know, it is very sad what's going on, but it's amazing how when something affects uh, number one industry, that's the first thing they talk about. All the tourists can come downtown. Don't worry about it. Everything is safe and stuff. And like, get into that. But I always, when something like this majorly happens into the inner city or over the hill, you don't, I always feel like we don't get that same appeal.
think? Okay.
Now, most of these buildings downtown are heavily insured. So insurance will cover them. But if this was to happen in St. Barnabas or Camp Road, if people don't have hardly most insurance in their businesses, you will not see this big impact or this come on down. You know, I've had friends who used to live inside the Victoria Court, and I had friends who own businesses right on the street. So basically, fire covered sit between two
Yeah.
Victoria and Elizabeth Avenue.
Yes.
So it is a tragedy that people lost their homes because that whole Victoria Court is completely gone. You could say that is gone.
Okay.
So I mean, people who live there, most of them didn't go there in time with them, probably with only the clothes on their backs.
Wow.
And so that is very sad. And then you have businesses on Elizabeth Avenue where people basically have been there for years. That
That's
is
all right.
that is gone.
Okay.
And so and that is yes, you feel uh, a sadness. But when you think about the country on the whole, when you look at like we see they having fires in the Abacoas,
Yes.
you see fires, we see the fires down the Michael Road and all those areas there. You don't see that same zeal by the authorities with the compassion. So to me, yes, it's sad, but to me it comes off as you worrying about the dollar. You're not worried about the human impact. You ain't saying that those places who are working in any of these buildings that were offices or businesses. If you're out of a job now, you can go to NIB for some form of assistance or social service. And you ain't hear that. You only hear them. Well, the fire you hear them talking about the tourists.
Yes,
But I always say the tourists come and go.
of course they do.
But what about those who lives here? You
So what
know,
about the people who, if we have people working at Victoria Court, right?
yeah, you got some of them are maids and stuff. But what I'm saying is that you don't hear that passion about the
Right.
ordinary.
Okay.
I was saying it brings me back to what I saw the other day where you had two individuals who were non-Bahamians
Yes,
that were let go of their job by a foreign entity.
Right.
And they appealing like they want the Bahamians to to stand with them. And I was like, yeah, you were brought here by that entity when they could have basically, if they wanted to, train a Bahamian to be in that spot.
Right.
But now the shoe's on the other foot. You want us to now have sympathy for you.
Right.
And I always tell people, I said, I love my country and I love my Bahamian brothers and sisters. But I don't understand when foreign entities make decisions with their foreign staff that we should now be worried about the foreign staff more than we worry about the Bahamian.
I agree.
And so many things I look at, like I was saying earlier, is that when it comes to this country, our parliamentarians, for some reason, do not show me the zeal, don't show me the drive. All they want to do is let me go into the community and collect this vote. And then when I get into parliament, uh, all of a sudden, the number they give you, while they were trying to get elected, oh, you could call them 24/7.
Yes.
Once they put on that coat suit or that nice dress and walk through that door called the Senate or the House of
House
Assembly,
Assembly, yeah.
then you call them again. This number you reach is not in
Not in
service,
service, yeah.
or you say, can't take your call now, leave a message,
Leave a message.
they get back to you.
Okay.
And if you go out to the parliament or sometimes the Senate, they tell you, well, I got a meeting to go to, come by the headquarters or whatever. And it's like, they turn you around and it's like, you keep forgetting the deed people elected you. Take time out, find out why they came here to see you.
Yeah.
Understand what they're paying this so that you can then say, come up with some meaningful solution.
Okay. I'm going to stop you right there, brother. Hyla, what do you think about the director's comments? Because Brother Cartwright had a lot to say. I got my say on that too, but I'm going to let you speak first.
Yeah, I mean, good day again, Bob. They were following protocol, given technical information as to what was happening.
Yes.
Safety of the tourists, traffic was diverted.
Yes.
But I agree with Cartwright. It just came across, the tourists can still move through the area or traffic was diverted. There's some smoke in the air, but it's not disrupting the tourist activity.
So what she's saying, I noticed the word she used,
Mhm.
no impact. What do you think about that?
You know what I think about that? Victoria Court with 29 residents burned to the ground. That's what I think about that.
It had no
Homes,
impact.
homes. That's what I think about her statement of no impact. 29 families,
That's a lot of
29
families.
units.
That's a lot of people.
I watched the clip of the video last night. My heart ached. I saw it really late, not live, not in real time.
Yeah.
I didn't catch it at that time. But
Okay.
hours later, as I watched persons grabbing toys, which would have been favorite toys of children, important items, documents, clothing, articles, photographs, things that would be irreplaceable.
Yes.
And before we came on air today, I walked the area. I mean, because it's right close to us. It's
Right there,
really
very close.
on our street.
Right on
The
our street,
global radio family
yes.
makes Elizabeth Avenue home.
That's right.
But there are actual Well, all I did, she was speaking to no impact on tourism. But allow me to read from the news report, because
Okay.
you know I'm more with the people, Professor.
Yes, we are.
Professor, the news report says residents of Victoria Court watched in horror as a fire that they assumed would be quickly extinguished tore through their apartment building because New Providence appeared to lack enough functional fire trucks to stop it. You hear that?
Okay.
What began as a blaze in an abandoned building adjacent to the complex exploded into a roaring inferno,
Oh, okay. All right.
damaging several Bay Street buildings.
Okay.
See, the part is interesting with this. You know, the residents said they were trying to grab their passports, clothes, and tenants tried to guide firefighters to where water was needed. 'Cause they know the area, and they said there's a narrow gap between where that fire is and our building. If you
Right.
could get in this gap, bring the water here and stop the fire from this side. But that didn't take place. Um, it says their warnings were ignored.
So it means that the firemen were not familiar with the territory then.
That's a part of it. They were not familiar with the territory or how to navigate the area
Navigate the area,
to
yes.
get between the fire and what would be many residents
Yes.
at Victoria Court. And one of the residents said she called the fire department repeatedly,
Yes.
begging them to send more units. And she
Okay.
said, well, when one of the units came, she walked over to the fire crew and was trying to tell them to redirect your efforts.
Uh-huh.
That was just her personal opinion.
Yes.
This news report also said that prominent businessman Craig Flowers owns 4 units in the building.
Right.
And he said he came as an observer trying to ascertain what in the world went wrong
Right.
because there weren't any fire vehicles at the time. He didn't see any fire vehicles. And then one vehicle came. They said they had to close the airport. Actually, this morning, I don't think the airport was in operation. The fire truck from the airport had to be brought in to assist with the fire. And what it's saying here, a truck eventually showed up, ran out of water, and then left to refill once again. And by that time, it was too late. 29 units destroyed. Uh, and it also said, well, Mr. Flower said for what he saw, it was a lack of organization, adding that fireman was on 3 different streets and shouting back and forth, asking that the one fire truck come to their direction. So 3 different firemen saying, come this way. The other fireman saying, come this way.
That's confusing.
And it was only one truck.
Very disorganized.
And it's also saying that I believe there were 3 events that took place last night. And there's 5 events. So there's no way they would have known, okay, you know what, let's send 2 trucks or 3
Yes.
to this one. This seems like it's more,
Yes.
more detrimental. So it's really sad. But to hear that there weren't trucks available, first of all, no trucks. And then one came and the one simply couldn't get the job
Could
done.
not get the job done.
Yeah.
I heard, I don't know if my producer has the report, but I heard some remarks made by the Commissioner of Police in relation to the fire. And she said they were getting water from the sink.
I saw that myself, actually. Because by this time now you had 2 trucks. So you could run the hose directly from the sea to one fire engine. And that one fire engine pumped the water on the second fire engine, and they would be within range. But
Oh, right.
actually, I think the water is close enough. Because if you think about it, Bay Street, Professor,
Yeah,
they right there.
they're right there. Yeah.
The water right there. So both trucks could have accessed water
Access to water.
directly from the sea.
Yeah, that is true. I
So
agree with you.
I don't know. But I counted at least 6 buildings, Professor.
6.
6 buildings, including Victoria Court.
So
that was
Victoria
destroyed,
was completely destroyed.
completely destroyed. The roof, the everything,
Oh,
everything, everything. The entire. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I don't know.
because I know it's been there for a very long time.
I say from 1959,
That's a long time.
yeah,
Longer than that.
even longer.
Yes.
That
Yeah,
used to
from
be-
the 1800s.
Yeah, 'cause
Some of
that
them.
Victoria Avenue and Elizabeth Avenue, these used to be residential,
Residential. Yes,
Yeah.
you're quite right.
Mhm.
and they became offices as the owners later on
Right.
generation. We made them business offices, but these were
Right.
basically historical whole historical buildings that were residents.
Right. Yes.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Well, I mean, sad. And at the same time, the fire chief over in Abaco said all of Abaco is on fire. Those are his words.
Yes.
Say all of Abaco is burning. He said
That-
many different areas in Abaco. As soon as they try to deal with one, two more elsewhere. So if we don't have enough resources in Providence,
And
How you can get it in Abaco.
yeah,
what has been happening, this carefully, these fires. And people talk about it over and over and say, listen, we don't do what we call a, when it comes to brush fires and stuff like that, we don't do an assessment. We saw what happened out there in California, their brush fires.
Okay.
How it basically wiped out majority of homes and everything.
Right.
I think we got a call.
Okay.
Hello, call.
Hello.
Yes.
good day.
Yeah, good afternoon to you all. Good afternoon to you all.
Sure.
Everybody's right on point. But we need to really pull it, tighten it up a bit more. First of all, the airport.
Mm.
Imagine now, those fire trucks at the airport, they're designed to be out there. There's if you move them, like I said, you got to shut the airport down. Because
Wait a
that
minute.
is-
Slow down, caller. Slow down a bit. I understand. Do we have how many fire trucks do you know would be at the airport?
well, I couldn't give you a number.
Well, I understand you only got one down there.
One functional. I think there were two there. Red one and then this lime green. I mean,
Yes,
we
but
could
I
get
agree.
what a lime green fire truck. Professor, if we get for 10 of them, man, it's just more water. But go ahead, Paul.
See how
Yeah.
its professor started off by saying he has a hydrant across the way from his house. That
Right.
is
Yeah.
the way supposed to be.
Yes. Wow.
Yes.
When a fire pulled out of that station, that fire truck is supposed to be checked, maintained on a daily, check your tire pressure, here and the do. So when you pull out of there, everything is in order.
Yes.
If he comes on the forehill and he for some reason runs out of water, his hose should be hooked into that working hydrant. You understand? That is what they are there for. Hydrants.
Definitely. But
They're
caller, in
fire
this,
hydrants.
I just want to interject. Caller, you realize when you're talking about Elizabeth Avenue and Bay Street, one truck, the hose can reach the water right there. This reminds me of the straw market fire
Yes.
where they say they had to leave the market to go get water.
And the water right in,
And
Yeah, but
water right in
I,
the sea.
how wide a fire truck would I could have run with the hose myself and reach there from where the barracks is. Why does it take more than an hour to get there?
Wait a minute now. You said it took them more than an hour?
More than an hour
Yeah,
to
more
get
than an
from
hour.
the barracks to where I was. The truck that reached their place was the airport truck.
Yes.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Yes. I'm looking at right. Caller, you're right, because
Yeah.
I'm looking at the photos on my phone that my cousin took. It is the lime green fire truck from the airport.
Mm.
And it's in the complex, working with the fire, putting it out. And like you said, that's the airport. So the distance it took for them to get the photos he took was when he pictured that as a photographer. He used to live inside Victoria Court. So he was showing like, he sent me the pictures and stuff, and I'm like, wow.
That's
One of the basic things what people don't realize, right? Caller, you would probably understand this. But growing up in the 60s, the 70s, and 80s, just about every block had a fire
A
hydrant.
fire hydrant.
And for some reason, as we move on, as they say, modernize,
Mm.
we take out the fire hydrant.
Yeah.
We
Mind
stop.
you, they still tricky. They still there. You know, it's the lack of maintenance, the lack of proper governance, leadership, poor leadership. You name it. Now back to my other friend's point.
Mhm.
Now, just say you shut the airport, because that is what you do, and those trucks be there.
Yeah.
It's mandatory
Yeah, the
that those
airport.
trucks be there to
Yes.
keep the airport open. But let's just say you make a silly decision to pull those fire trucks from the airport, and then a flight coming in have to be diverted from that airport for some unforeseen reason. How
Okay.
would get around there?
Boy, we always say this that lack of leadership. And for some reason, every administration always said, well, when we get me, listen, your first 100 days, you're supposed to make an assessment, and then your next 260 days, you act. For some reason, people just feel that we can wait till time for re-election, and then we can be scrambling around trying to get things done.
Yeah.
Local
We,
government.
yes,
We
we
need local government.
I'll add to that. We need local government with local money, local budget. No more this assigning people and no money.
No,
It's a few
no.
people to and talk, make recommendations, and there's never a response and never money to respond to the local problem.
And kind of like just to answer and think I was question about water being right there. We had this with Darrell. Do you know what saved a downtown? The telco and PEC trucks had to bring their pumps to pump the water out of the sea
yep.
Mm.
because the fire roared down the hill from the bottom. I ain't had no water. Listen, we got to be this. We have to be.
Yeah.
So, Paul, let me see if I could get some clarity here. Do I understand, and someone need to correct me if I'm in error, two fire trucks reportedly at the airport. Is that correct?
Yeah.
It's supposed
Yeah.
to be.
All station. Yeah.
Just two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, but
But
go
guess
on.
what?
Go on.
The ambulance had to come from the airport.
What?
What the ambulance had to come forward to do what?
Just in case.
I guess in case people got hurt or injured, stuff like that.
Oh,
And
I
the,
see. Okay,
the,
okay.
the hospital of fire stone a throw away.
Yeah, but
But
the
they don't
hospital right there.
they don't keep the ambulances there anymore. They moved them from the hospital and put them down by where CID used to be. Where the hell down the road?
What kind of
Boy.
decisions today?
You know,
And
Paula,
ain't only,
you know, one of
ain't
the
only that.
yes.
I got one more point. Ain't only that. Let's just say that was a breezy day.
Yeah.
And the fire embers to just jump across the road to the hospital. Everybody's sick and not again get on their own way.
Hold on. Let me repeat what you just said. I thought about that earlier this morning too. The embers from the flame was blowing west. This flame had the because a building across the road on the western side of the road was also destroyed on that side. But what you're saying, I just had to repeat this. Hold on. If the fire was blowing to the south,
Exactly.
the hospital is only one block away from where the fire took place.
Yes.
If the
Disaster.
embers were blowing south and fell on the hospital, then what you spoke of, even though it would be a disaster, it was quite within possibility.
Then you would have had more problems. More problems. Why these people doing governance so putting your travel expense up to 70, $80 million and do what they have to do for the country, man?
Look, I'll make you laugh. The Minister of National Security had said a month ago they have on all, I think, 15 fire trucks that are specialized for our climate. And I'm like, you got on order.
In order.
Election is next year.
Right.
You ain't let us know if we can have these fire trucks before election.
Absolutely. They send the money.
Or if you can be in power, to finalize whatever agreement you sign because, like I said earlier, I keep telling professors that this is a government of non-disclosure,
Yes.
and it's sad because money is being spent, and you are not getting any clarity what is money spent on, who received the money, where the money is going. So everything is basically tied up to whereby that
Cartwright,
it's an exclusion.
Cartwright,
Yeah,
look,
let the caller
Cartwright,
finish. Go ahead,
look across
caller.
the road. Look across the road to the hospital.
Yeah, it's serious.
Yep.
Look at the hospital, man.
Very serious.
What waking in this country, Professor?
You asked a good question.
The hospitals, the rats, everybody woke up running this morning. The big rat was running for everybody, on the dialysis. Everybody screaming and running. The filth, the drape, you name it. What works?
We don't take care of we don't take care of our facilities, especially healthcare.
But Fred Mitchell could come on radio and say the people in Freeport overreacting.
Wow.
Anyway,
Wow.
back to that
Thank,
media.
thank
Yes.
you. Thank
Thank
you,
you
caller.
very much. Overreacting.
Well, I
Wow.
keep telling people that the learned minister of foreign affairs lives in another world than the average behavior. I hate to say it, but that is the truth. If you see pictures of him when he travel, I saw a picture that he posted on Facebook, him and Exo and the regatta. And I said, bro, you overdressed. You monks, you
Overdressed. He's among his people.
you dress like the king.
Yes.
So then I hear him open his mouth and say things that's like, I gotta take him in the picture because to me,
He
you're
doesn't
a
identify the average Bahamian.
representative.
He just doesn't. We are going to break. This is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network. Bahamians, I keep saying I never know what I may meet on a given day. Of course, Monday is Constitution Day. I don't know what I meet on Monday. But the thing is, in this chair, when you come here to do this show, anything is liable to happen before you get here. This is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network. We'll be back after the break.
Express your 872. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and Global Radio 99.5FM.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. The Haven seems as if we have a problem with organizing ourselves, Commonwealth. I said when people last January the 8th, when they said, Professor, what we can do, and I haven't forgotten what I told them, and I was very specific and very in what I suggested to them and people. But Professor cannot do it of himself and by himself. That's not constitutionally sound. It has to be done in cooperation with the people in a particular given constituency. And I said, people that you have to be of a certain quality to make sure the issue that you're going to deal with is solved. I'm not talking about trying to do something, trying and getting enough payments. You had even the Speaker of the House say to people, that's the people's house, and the people want solutions to problems, not just talk. And the government of the day has the power in their hand to solve problems. Now, they're not necessarily doing that. Now, the people, the electorate, has to do something about that. If a government does not solve the national problems of this country, then the electorate has to do something about it. We can't just keep sitting and allow things to go on and on and on, and we don't get any results. We have all kind of problems. We are not even organized to deal with the fires. We have all kind of fires. Someone called the show and said fire down Carpet Road, I think. I'm not too sure about that, but at least it was reported that that is the case. But we'll have to check that to see whether that's really the case or not. But Bahamians, too many things are happening, and we just can't keep running the country like this, where tragedy can strike, and there can be tremendous loss of life, tremendous loss of property. And then we got to figure out now how we're going to deal with it. Brother Hyler, go ahead.
Professor, my heart goes out, and I want to say condolences to the Monco family
Oh, yes.
on the passing of Rodney Monco. To his family, his church family. Politically, he seemed to be trying to unite the two major forces. But sympathy goes out to Rodney Monco. He stood up.
Say he was trying to unite.
When I say trying to unite, he stood between the two. He considered himself a card-carrying F, as he would put it.
But he said he voted for PLP.
But he said he voted for the PLP.
That's what he said. So
and he gave the reason why.
Yes.
But just to focus on not the details of it, but he took a position and he saw some things that were wrong in who he considered to be his party, and he spoke up.
Yes.
He spoke up and he spoke out against what he saw as not being in the best interest of the Bahamian people, or as he would put it, in the interest of the women them. So
the women them,
the leader of the women them. So I really regard Mr. Rodney Monco very highly for being fair and balanced and really looking for what was in the best interest of the Bahamian people. He is uncommon.
Let me just add to this a little bit, because I've heard some comments made by the people about Brother Monca. And I think he did well as a radio personality on the air. He had his style and all of that, and that's fine. Why is it that people will say to you, continue what you're doing, but we don't see other persons following the example of Brother Monca? Why is that?
I believe, I don't know how I feel about this, but for me, Professor, it's because you call it the hot seat.
Oh, it's a hot seat now.
Yeah,
Very much.
See, when you challenge the status quo, when you challenge the powers that be, you could find yourself out of a job, contract you were trying to feed your family with. All of a sudden, it could be canceled.
Yeah.
So and you don't see when these things are done with your own eye, but all you know is you are now fought against, and so
So
victimization. Yeah.
who is doing the fighting against the particular personality?
We don't have the evidence, Professor, but the public really need to open their eye and they really need to wake up. Then even at the parliamentary level, if you stand up in the people's house, the House
Yes,
of Assembly,
yes,
and say, I don't think this is right for the people, especially of my constituency,
yes.
you could find yourself either out of the parliament or out of the party.
Okay. So who would be doing that?
Well,
Would it be people from that
it
particular
only
party?
it only could be the party or the leader, one or the other. It only could be.
Okay. Do we have a caller, Mr. Producer?
Yeah.
Okay, I think he's saying I have a caller. Caller, you live on here. Go ahead, please. Caller, you there? We're not hearing
Hello.
the caller. Yeah, go
Hey,
ahead, caller, quickly. Go ahead.
could be.
Good afternoon, Mr. Thompson.
Yes, sir. Hey, that's Poppy.
Yes, sir. Yes,
How
sir.
have you been hiding yourself?
Rachel Holland, thanking God for life.
Amen.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes, sir.
tell me something. You get anything or you all talk about? I listened to a clip, but I didn't hear it on the news. It sounded like Ted Mitchell and the leader of the official opposition was Rowan. It sounded like one of them shot out they can pour up one another in their head or something. And like they was
Boy.
laughing at it like it was a joke.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to catch up with that.
Yeah.
Tell me something, Mr. Thompson. Do you think I'm right? Uh, do you think those every police station? I see when I could see, I used to see it happening. I don't know if they exchange or they don't do that no more. I only see that in some places. I thought like all of those police stations supposed to have like a fire engine, a
Okay.
working fire engine. What I said that right? Just that these police stations will be built if we build to be able to put the fire engine in it. Let's make sure we get some good working fire engine put in it. And another thing too, when the Solomon's fire was going on, I understand some of the officers that get burned on the neck and they shoulder. Now I
Okay.
know in the States and other parts of the world, those officers have all tools what they need. Just get hurt sometimes. I just want to make sure the government make sure our officers have what they need. I just want to make sure they have the right proper clothing when they can run fires and stuff like that. I want to make sure just how we can find them for consultants and traveling
Okay.
and going for extra money to travel. Let's just get the right fire engines. I was wondering they must cost millions of dollars. I say, and I don't think the up to date fire engine is so expensive. Why we can't do something like this? I feel like they really don't care about us.
You know,
They don't care about us, and they know well the place burn down, and even if it's the government building, us the people have to pay for that. That ain't coming out their pocket. All these PPP private partnership.
I keep hearing about that.
Huh?
Public-private partnership.
Yeah,
PPP.
them things what they be doing, right? Why don't they use them? Them people who I call them their friends, families, and lovers,
Yes.
and the web shop owners and stuff like that, who they be doing these big deals with, and the stripe, what you call the stripe, and the roaders do, the man
Yeah.
who do
but
the
you know,
road, stripe, the road and stuff like that, who get all these big contracts and stuff like that.
yeah,
Why?
Papa, come on, sec. I'll say this to you.
Yeah.
You know, we've been to all our lives so far recently. We've been talking about our natural resources, right?
Yes, sir.
We heard recently that the government is looking to sign a contract to monetize the carbon credits
Yes.
with someone. Isn't it
Correct.
right? And I'm saying to myself,
I'm Mr. Ferguson.
yes. So I said to myself, if you monetize this carbon credits, right?
Uh-huh.
Wouldn't it be more sensible that we could use that monetary and provide our personnel like those, like the police, the fire department, and the hospital, make it a priority that they have the equipment and everything they need. Without them, the country goes into chaos. And
That
right,
is
that's
right.
right.
Yes.
I keep trying to figure what
That's why I say they don't care about us.
and
They
see.
don't really. I mean, they say they care, right?
Yeah.
But the actions show that they don't care.
And this is where I keep trying to explain to parliamentarians. I say, listen, you all might say people people hear what you say, but people watching your action.
That's
Yeah,
That's
we
a
want to
difference.
we want to be able to benefit from it.
Yes.
Look,
Yeah.
yeah, it's important is the fire engine in there. Like I
Very
was telling
important.
you, like I was telling you,
Yes.
the web shop guys, then they could do a PPP with the government or the striping guy, and let's buy some fire engines. Let's buy some fire. Let's get some helicopters where could you up water and all of that stuff too. Let's get the thing moving.
But
Yes,
but
they don't see it that way. But that's the sad part.
yeah, but
So
we
open them out as a joke. We should.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this? Why are we? Because we passive people.
And you know, on top of that,
Mm.
this is something that I told someone before. I said, if you look at most of these people who go to Parliament, after 5 years, most of them don't care if they get voted up.
They don't care.
And that's the sad part about it. And this one, I keep telling people, I said, we got to now do a serious vetting of people go into our parliament. We got to start looking at the professors and say, look at the people who live in your community. You know, last week, Sunday, I sat on a show on another radio station, and I listened to two ladies from the COI, and I was impressed because they said to me, you know, what you were saying that when it comes to representation from the community, said, you know, we're both running in the next general election, but we running in a community that we live in.
Oh,
And I
that
was
sound
like,
like the woman who was maid before helper. Who was the maid?
no, I'm talking about the deputy leader of the COI and another lady.
I think that's the lady who said she was Mayor Davis maid before.
And
okay.
I was very impressed. Actually, this is where we now need this country because when you bring people in, yeah,
especially the deputy leader.
when you bring people who are not familiar with the community, they not seeing, they not hearing, they not understanding.
Fireman,
Okay.
them people was trying to tell them.
Yes.
Paul, I move on. Well, thank you for your
Hey,
contribution. I
Mr.
hope,
Thompson,
yes,
let's
sir.
make you tell me something. They say they get pictures and they say they see the grand fire truck, right? So tell me something. I'm not discriminating or anything, but I think you need to be in proper shape when you. Hey, how the office system look? They look physical, like they get their training on time. Or
Okay.
they're in bad position.
Those are good questions. I've been
No, I
trying
didn't
to
say
answer
You
them for you.
don't want to lose no life. They must be professional and be ready to do these things. Them.
Okay,
They never
proper.
pay them enough, but they got to be
But,
physical,
but,
ready to do it. We got to give them what they need.
right. Thank you very
Keep up
much.
the good work, Mr. Thompson.
Okay, all right. Mr. Bruce, bring the next call. Call, I'm sorry, but call you live on here. Go ahead, please.
Hey, good afternoon, Professor.
Hey, what you say, man?
Hey, good day.
Okay. Good afternoon, Nick. Yes, good afternoon, Bahamas.
Yes, sir.
Professor, man, I just was going to, I'm sure, say, that's what say something about Mr. Monka. But why,
okay.
when you're on the line, man, you hear some things and you got to add a little more to it. But Professor, why is that on the line? I can go to my Monka when I finish this. But why is that on the line? I say a conversation. And what I say to bombard that, right? When you go inside the house and then, like my man said, you come out, you don't even need to check it no more. I'll bring back my drug dealers law, 2000 drug dealers law. What you ain't work for, that belongs to the government. I love to bring that back. That should be implemented. Anybody going to amend foolishness, I would love them to amend that. What you ain't work for, you can't show you work for.
Well,
2000 drug dealers act.
Yeah, but then that's an existing law, right?
Yeah,
2000.
that's right.
2000.
That's right,
Okay.
yeah.
So therefore, it should be enforced.
Yeah, but that's for drug dealers. Put that on the same. That's why they might be doing this, and they're trying to move that because that could go to them because they honorable men. If you don't work for it, how come you have it?
That's a good
And the
point.
gentleman who talking about Southern Front.
Yes.
But very fact that you didn't tell me teach us to do our study. When you go in the houses are you can't talk nothing. When you get in there and you see that people money, you can't tell nobody. You can't talk to. I can ask them why they do all this riches and you could build your own place. But I was for. I can come up with that when I was lying. I said, don't let come on. Oh, maybe because it's a big gentleman. Because it's a big show. And listen here, you know what the question was? Oh, he can rob without that market rate. And I said, oh, being a businessman, I wonder what's taking place.
That's a
But
good
he rob with that margin rate? I can take myself out of it. Saying nobody can get through this margin rate. Why that man was alive? Oh, I can tell Father up to the most high in God, that man was working on he's working dead hard. So we couldn't get through this margin rate. That's what I call it. When I hear you all talking, so I thought I'll be said.
But I
with your
appreciate
statement,
that.
brother.
I appreciate that, caller. That's very good. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, because see, the thing is that, Roddy Munt is going to be missed sorely. He was quite a character.
Yeah.
And, he's a fellow shock host like I am. But the point is, I keep trying to get people to understand if we can have change things, we just can't leave it to the talk shows alone. Because you say, Professor, continue. But you have to play yourself. And that's what I need to get you to understand. We're going to have to go to break now. This is Professor Sidney Dr. Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. We'll be back after the break.
Express yourself live. We'll return right after this.
You need some weird clothing. Get ready. Make those reservations or purchase those gift certificates for Smile Week at Windermere Day Spa and Salons, April 22nd through 25th. First, let's talk about the 30-minute stress relief massage, body clock, or a revitalizer facial, all at just $60 each. And the 50-minute speech massage is just $88. And a 50-minute deep tissue massage, $99. April 22nd through 25th. Spa Week at Windermere Day Spa and Salons. It's just what you need. Email or call now to reserve or purchase your gift certificate. Windermere at PercyMay.org or call Harbor Bay at 393-8788 or 393-0033 or Caves Village at 327-613546.
Do you love fresh flowers at low prices? If so, come into Petal Pusher's Elegant Florist Your Event Planner. We can't wait to help you with that perfect bouquet or basket for that special person, or book us for your significant life event. We specialize in decorating yachts, weddings, proms, funeral events, and so much more. Create that smile by visiting us on Bay Street, opposite the old Hotel Corona, or call us at 326-2663 and place your order today.
Mira's Scents and Gifts, formerly Bed and Bath Concepts, is located in the Mall of Marathon. They've got beautiful sheet sets, comforters, blankets, and towels. You will also find the best selection of perfumes, especially those now hard to find ones, like 273, Beverly Hills, Tax, Quorum, One Man Show, Touch, Red Door, Cabotin, and Lapidus. And there are gift sets, along with ladies' handbags. It's the new Mira's Scents and Gifts. Friendly atmosphere, affordable prices, satisfied customers. Come on in. We're open 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. weekdays and 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Saturdays. Telephone 393-5958.
Wise Bohemian shoppers know when times are hard and things are tough, it's more sensible and convenient to shop at YCares Fashion Center. YCares has slash prices on brand name clothing and shoes by up to 50%, including academic, clock, polo, and hundreds of jeans and dicky pants. And as much as 70% on selected items. Choose from a large selection of beds, sheets, rugs, and towels, all at affordable prices. YCares in 3 locations in Fairview, Bahama Avenue, Prince Charles, and East Street South near the Charles Hotel. YCares, where you can afford to look good.
Straight to Blue Hill Road. It's your chance to join the discussion of today's issue. Yeah, let your voice be heard. Speak your mind and express yourself. Call in and participate at 260-271 or 326-0272. What is your concerns at 809-2310? Follow us live on Facebook and Global Radio 99.5FM.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney Dr. Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. We have an exciting day today. Open line, right? Anything can happen at any given time. The talk shows, I got to be prepared to shift at a moment's notice. We're going to now play a tape that we have right there with the producer. Go ahead and play that tape for us, please. Oh, he's not quite ready. I was too quick on that. No, Bahamians, we have some serious issues about our country. Those persons who are given authority to run the place, you got to know them better than you know them now. Because Bahamians, we haven't gotten anything done of a national significance in the country that I know of. Now, if you know something, you got to let me know, because I've been looking for it. And 52 years have passed, or we're going on 52 this July the 10th. But 58 years have passed since majority rule. And you've had 2 major political parties having had the opportunity to be in and out of government. I believe, Mr. Are you ready? Go ahead, please.
You're right. It's amazing. You're not gonna details to go and bring it to you.
Yeah, but
You're not gonna stop me, right? It's amazing. You're not gonna stop me, right? You're my spiritual advisor. I did that. So, yeah, see?
Listen, right now, words cannot express how I am feeling about Rodney's passing. Rodney has been a very, very good friend of mine. Um, Came to the breakfast club at the McDonald's eatery. And Rodney, some strange reason, watched me in some debates for about 2 years. Watched me for 2 years. 2 years, he watched me. And he said to himself that um, if he ever gets a talk show, that I would definitely be, his spiritual advisor. It's just seems so. He often, uh, what's going on with him, and just try to. I was really looking forward to him returning
Yes.
and for get the team to
Yes, Rodney would be best. I've heard comments from other people on other radio stations. Gentlemen, what do you think? Brother Hyde?
I'll just say briefly because I already commented. I want to hear from Cartwright also. But for me, um, Rodney was rare in that not only as a talk show host, but as a senator, this man was prepared to say what he saw was wrong or
Yes.
what he had a problem with.
Yes.
So he carried out true representation of the
Okay.
people.
Yes.
He was not a rubber stamp.
Okay.
He was not a yes man. Parliament is full of yes men and yes women right now. You don't say nothing that, the whole group is not saying. God didn't put man on the side for that.
No, he didn't.
Just to say what the group is saying.
Because the
No.
group would be dead wrong.
Okay, then the group could be wrong. And in this case, these groups we have these days, they're as wrong could be.
As wrong could be. Brother
Mr.
Carter.
Carter.
Yeah, I've known Mr. Monica going back to the days of when he was a part of the Vanguard.
Yes.
He was always a real funny social activist coming out of the Black Village.
Yeah.
Anyone who knew around Black Village and knew Rodney, he always was on the cutting edge of doing something totally different. And when you think about talk show hosts, Rodney and the late Darrell Miller, those
Yes.
guys of that ilk was not normal, articulate individuals, but they got their point across, and you understand where they stand.
Yes.
And so, he was greatly be missed because Rodney was unique. I always told people, Darrell was with his prerogative, and Rodney was with him and them.
Him and them. Yes.
And
Right.
he always, if you approach him, he said, Rodney, what do you think? And he'll say, well, my brother, I think if you need representation, if it's legal, you're a lawyer. If you have something in the community, talk to him.
Yes.
He was always trying his best to help and go along, when I think about it with Rodney, I think right now, guys of that genre, I think is only left for is I don't know if he's still on the air, Ortland Booney.
Yeah, Ortland Booney. Yeah.
I always told people,
He's still on.
yeah, I said those guys are what you call country talk shows.
Yes.
They were not greatly polished. When you hear them speak, I always say they're countrymen.
Yes.
People say, and if I was here say a Bush co-host or Bush talk show host, but that's who they were because they basically let you know what is going on and how they feel it.
Yes,
His soul rest in peace. Condolences to him, his family.
Yeah.
And like I said again, men like them don't come very often. So he will surely be missed, man. He was an icon in the talk show business.
Yes, he was.
Yes.
Definitely.
Definitely. I would say, I would dare say, an icon in the political arena as well.
Okay.
It's just that when you take the position that he takes, you find yourself on the backbench or sitting on the floor.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the floor of the house.
Right.
You know,
So let me see. I'm glad you're bringing this up because I've watched some things and I keep asking myself, why would you tell a talk show host continue doing what you're doing, but yet you yourself is not backing the talk show host? Why? Why do you think is that?
maybe fail, maybe just being afraid of repercussions, or we would say victimization.
Okay.
It takes courage to do this.
Yes, it does.
My mind goes to, even Hiram Lewis or O'Brien Muhammad.
Yes.
If you start standing up for people, you start protesting, even in plain clothes. If you stand up and say, you know what, I think this is too much burden on the people, then why is the party saying we watching your behavior?
Okay.
Isn't it supposed to be about the people, Professor?
It's supposed to
So
be
when
about
you
the people.
stand with the people and your party say we watching you, your behavior concerns us. What is that? What isn't that clear, Professor?
Yeah, that would be clear. But what I'm trying to get the people to understand is this. You see why I keep going back to the constituency? I told you, Bahamians, about parties that put unfit people to represent you. They put these people on tickets and they expect you to vote for them, and you keep saying, I'm a PLP or I'm an FNM, whatever. The point is, we have seen hardcore evidence. What has happened over the last 15 years. When you give a political party a massive landslide of seats, Bahamians, this is in the record. The question got to be asked is what kind of benefits did you get as constituents in your particular constituency? Where are the benefits? Do not leave the talk show house out there hanging and say to the talk show host, continue what you're doing.
Keep up the good work.
Keep up the good work. That's what they tell me too, But I can put them to the test. Bahamians, you could rest your bottom dollar. Professor Sidney McGarter Walter Thompson will put you to the test. Because I ain't taking on no burden by myself. The Constitution forbids me to do it. Now, there's some specific things I have to do. But it has to be done with your cooperation, your support, Bahamians. See, Rodney is gone. Who's going to fill Rodney's shoes? Darrell Miller is gone. Who's going to fill Darrell's shoes? You can't just keep saying, keep up the good work. And yet you stay right in the background and you start doing foolishness and nonsense. You got to come out of the shadows, baby. That's why I said the Constitution is your salvation document. It is bigger than any political party. Because you will probably get an unfit person. The party will send to you and say, go vote for that person. And then you go right ahead and vote for that person. And nothing happens to you.
Well,
That
Professor,
doesn't make any sense.
Professor,
Yes.
see, it doesn't make sense. Here's the but. But you see the caliber of people that are being sent forward.
Yes.
The party operates with who the people find favorable before they condition them or whip them into obeying the party rules. What I'm saying is, we have constituencies with 5 different people. So they're an aspirant.
Yes.
They want to
saw
run.
that.
They want to be. They clamoring to get into this party where these questionable deeds are taking place.
Yes.
My question is, as you telling the people, why don't they organize themselves? Why don't they leave colors alone and work together to try bring change?
They can do that. That's where Article 24.1 kicks
But it's
in.
not happening.
No, it's not happening. That's why I keep saying that the Bahamian people got to realize what they're saying and what they're doing. Because they're saying one thing, you say to talk show host, keep up the good work you're doing. But how the hell you could keep it up without that strong support from the constituents themselves? It don't have to be from no particular party. You live in that particular constituency. You see the problems you have in that particular constituency. Why then is it so difficult for the constituents, and this is constitutional behavior, from not organizing themselves according to Article 24.1 to do what? The very last phrase in that article. To do what? To protect your interests. Do you have an interest to protect? You're leaving it to the political party to protect? That's not happened in 58 years, Damien.
Well, they still hopefully can happen.
But it can happen. You have more than enough truth. Far more than enough. You want another 58 years of this foolishness? Is that what you say?
They had a big function yesterday,
Yeah, but
One particular group, they give us a chance.
Oh, yeah.
See, they reject the other team and give us another chance.
And this is a particular grouping
That
has
just
always had,
just had the
just
chance.
come out.
Just had the chance. This aspiring new prime minister
Yes.
was the leader of government business
Yes, he was
in the last administration and did not expose with contracts. They were
issuing. That's right.
but now they're saying to reject
Expose.
the other team.
But see, this is the thing that Bahamians have to wake up to and realize that somebody is playing, or some people, I should say, playing games.
Professor, they have the money, so the people can really think the money is. That's what it is.
The point is, if we don't do anything about it, we can have another 52, another 58 years of crap. That's what's going to happen.
Before we come off there, I wanted to bring up the prime minister said he's not tabling the documents.
Right
the
now,
same
right?
document he said he was going to table over BPL.
Yes.
On the front page on the newspaper, Office of the Prime Minister is now saying that if they table the BPL deals now, that would impact negotiations. That's the latest right there.
That is what coming from
The
the
Office
Prime
of the
Minister.
Prime Minister, from the Prime Minister himself.
The Prime Minister said that.
That's coming from the office of the prime
From
minister.
the
Now,
Office
see,
of the
this,
Prime
this,
Minister.
this is where you could get confused now.
No, that's coming from the Office of the Prime Minister.
Yeah, but then who on the office sent it up?
That's coming from the Trey Raman, prime minister press
And we know he's not speaking for himself.
press conference, press spokesman for the prime minister.
Yes.
Okay. Now, see, I have some misgivings when I hear it like that. When you tell me this is from the office of the Prime Minister. See, this is why I like to get so I can hear if he writes something himself and he puts that out, coming directly from the Prime Minister, I could say I heard this from the Prime Minister. It could be someone in there who might be putting it out, and then they have this artificial
Well,
No,
the
this
prime minister,
intelligence.
the prime minister has the Trey Raman is the official spokesman for the prime minister. When the prime minister doesn't want to take questions or provide answers to the press, he writes up an answer, and then the Trey Raman comes to the press, and then he explains, well, this is what the prime minister is saying. And so a lot of times you see, that's why we copy so much, we want to be so much like the Americans.
But could he really speak for the Prime Minister?
Well, he can because that is an official post, which we never used to have. That was introduced under the last administration.
Yeah, it was.
And I keep saying that there are certain things in the U.S. you don't need because
You don't need the copy.
because the thing is, I always say to people is that the press secretary in the United States has a direct correlation with the president.
Right.
Here, you only get snippets, and so when you go in
Yeah,
front
you get
of
bits and pieces.
and so when you go in front of the public speak, you be the one that then they said you will go in and say this and let them know X, Y, Z. So when you say that, then you come back and say, I didn't manage to be like that. How we explain it. So let me come back. And so you always get this back and forth back to
Yeah, but see,
our prime minister. This is how I look at it.
yes.
This prime minister, the previous prime minister, for some reason, in my opinion, have a fear of speaking in front of the mic in a open environment.
Okay.
But hold on a second, Alright. It depends on what the subject is,
Yeah, but when I say open environment,
Yeah.
if you watch when the prime minister or both of them pass,
When the media in front of them.
yes,
Okay,
they're very,
yeah,
very
yeah,
cautious.
yeah.
and stuff. Now, if you get where they call you into a room where you now have to sit down and no questions, they can give you a straight, smooth sailing.
That doesn't make any sense.
But when you see them get in an area where people are going to provide, they know there's going to be questions, they send their press secretary.
Well, let me say outright. The Prime Minister said for himself in Parliament that he was going to table the BPL deals.
Yes, he said.
That's what, 2 months ago.
He said,
much
we
more
are
than that.
going to table the BPL deals in Parliament.
Yes.
Now that's his mouth and the Parliament microphone, and he said that to the Bahamian people.
Yes.
Now the opposite message is coming out. It's not coming directly from him. And this is what I want to say. Professor, I'm looking at the paper. The Office of the Prime Minister suggested yesterday those who are calling for the BPL deal to be tabled are unpatriotic. That's the word here, in quotes.
That's coming from the office of the Prime
That's coming
Minister.
from the
But see,
Office of the Prime Minister.
This is where we get these contradictions. We heard clearly what the man himself said some time ago.
Yes.
Now we have a contradictory statement from
Yes.
what is called the
Office of the Prime Minister through Latre Rami.
Yeah, but see, this is why I find it very difficult.
I find it very questionable,
It is questionable.
and it's
So why do they want to play this like this? We need to hear from our leaders. We should hear the hardcore facts from our leaders. Now, when they can't do that, there's only one thing you do to them.
Well, here's a further claim. The Office of the Prime Minister is claiming that when the FNM was in government, they did not demonstrate a commitment to transparency that it is asking of the Davis administration. And they said, look at the Oban deal. So, quote, Office of the Prime Minister, these FNMs who never took a single contract in Parliament when they were in a position to do so, suddenly they can't wait until the country has finished negotiating comprehensive energy reforms.
That is political mischief.
Yes.
Right off.
Yeah,
But I'm glad you brought it up.
That's what I would say to them.
Yeah.
Just because Peter did something wrong
Doesn't make it right.
doesn't make it right for Paul to continue.
To continue doing the wrong.
All right.
Yeah.
Transparency is something that we all want from our
We're
parliamentarians.
not getting it.
And that is the problem, Professor. We're not getting it.
No, I agree with you. This is why when I hear Office of the Prime Minister, and then when you hear the Prime Minister make a direct quote, and you know you got that voice that he said it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I could deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
But when I hear from Office of the Prime Minister, I ain't sure whether that's the Prime Minister saying it or not. I don't know that.
You think he have the nerve to say that out of his own mouth?
Listen to me. People do most things.
Mm.
But what I'm saying is, if that's the way they're operating, then we don't need them kind of people to run no country.
No.
Because all you do is end up making confusion. If the Prime Minister is going to say something, then we ought to get a clear and precise message on a particular matter from the Prime Minister.
I think with that position
Yeah,
that
go
he
ahead.
used, with the office of the Prime Minister, what he tends to do is that, see, the press will not be able to question the trade because he's only speaking on behalf of the Prime Minister. Now, the Prime Minister can come back and say, well, what you all heard was taken out of context.
But see, that's the problem.
And that's the way he wants to do it, because he does not want to be confronted. Because you know, he made a statement. He made that statement in Parliament.
Yes, he did.
Right? He didn't make the statement outside of Parliament.
That's correct.
And so his way of being to hide and protect himself, he says it on the floor, and then when he's in public, he lets the press secretary say things, and then he can always come back and say, well, no, that was taken out of context.
But there's something to jump on right away.
Yes.
The pressure of
The government.
the pressure of asking trade ramming, did he not say that he was going to table these documents?
Yes.
So what changed?
Didn't he
What
say
changed?
when the ink dry?
He said when the ink is dry.
That's what the man
When
said.
this ink still
Well,
ain't,
maybe it's wet there.
maybe the ink still ain't dry yet.
Come on, man. What kind
Because
of
people
nonsense is this?
are asking about the BPL deal.
Yes.
And he doesn't want to answer right away.
No. But let's go back to the beginning because now see the music coming, the
Yeah.
show was ending. Mike Rosen's statement is there is a law related to energy in the Bahamas. That law states that the details of the deal should be presented to the stakeholders, public, the union, for consultation
Consultation, yeah.
before
Before
it
any
is
decision
signed.
is made.
Yes,
And before it is signed. That
right.
is correct.
So they're in violation of
That's
the
the
Electricity
Electricity
Act
Act
2024.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
correct. Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure.
No, but that is the
Yeah.
truth. And see, the Bahamas government is going against the very law that is passed in the House of Assembly.
Yes, sir.
See, Bahamas, this is what you got to look at. This is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. Have a very pleasant afternoon.